even when we are passionate about things, we do need to rank that against everything else that is out there.
Say more.
You know, in the context of you can never be passionate in isolation. Right. Your passion is in the midst of other people doing exactly the same.
I see.
Passions oftentimes are not unique in their nature, right?
That's good.
We all might want to be singers. We
Absolutely.
all might want to be the next influencer.
Yeah.
But if
I see you pointing at me.
But if we're not doing it in a way that firstly is unique, secondly we can monetize it and sustain it, I think we'll fall short of delivering on that, on that passion. All these new startups, especially in the US, a lot of them start by obsessing over their product.
They do.
You know, and if you haven't obsessed enough over your product and what it is you are trying to sell, nothing else matters. You can network, you can do all of these things, but if you really don't have a compelling product to take to market, you'll get caught up and lost, I think, in terms of trying to deliver something unique. I've become quite a fan of a guy called Naval Ravikant. I'm not sure if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
But he talks a lot around like what the new leverage is. And leverage really is about influence. Right? And whereas influence back in the day was built around capital, influence now is this tangible thing that all of us have access to. And we all have access to it because all of us have access to social platforms. We literally have access to the entire world. All of us, right? And so how do we gain that influence? It really is about, once again, discovering something unique to yourself that is of interest to other people. And finding a way to consistently do that one thing that more and more people are going to be interested in. And the more people are interested in it, you can monetize it, and you can, build and grow your brand in that regard.
I am Dr. Mandach Flaro, and on today's episode of the Super Lead podcast series, we are joined by Monalisa Zwambila. She's the CEO and founder of Riverbed, South Africa's largest female-owned advertising agency. She's a multi-award-winning trailblazer. She has broken barriers as the first female-owned agency to rank in the top 10 of the Loeries. From starting Riverbed as an unemployed single mother to building a leading agency, her journey is a powerful story of resilience and purpose. And today we unpack her leadership story and the transformative power of the CARE framework to creating positive impact for the clients the world over. Monalisa, welcome to Super Lead Podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Lovely. So we've got, our conversation is going to cover quite a bit of ground. But before we get to the meat, on this podcast, we like to hear your story and we like to hear it from as early as possible. So if you can just, as far back as you can remember, who is Monalisa? Where did you grow up? And to where we are today as founder and CEO at Riverbed.
That's a long story.
I often say we have time.
How far back does one want to go? I mean, it's quite interesting. On Sunday, we were commemorating my father's life. He passed away 50 years ago, so that gives you a sense of how old I am. But I
you look 35.
I'm not. The world has become quite ageist, and we seem to. It's interesting. I think women in their 50s declare it loudly when they look good, or at least according to the rest of the world. You need to look a certain way to be able to share your age. But I think, life, if anything, and age comes with wisdom, experiences, and conversations.
Yeah.
And so if I have to sort of go back to mine, which was your sort of initial question, it's I'll start by saying I come from a family of 6 children.
Sure.
Very, very entrepreneurial parents. Both my mother and father were business owners.
Sure.
I originally am from Zimbabwe, so grew up in a township called Pelandaba.
Okay.
And in that environment and situation, obviously had similar experiences in terms of prejudice, racial segregation, etc.
Sure.
But somehow in the midst of all of that, I was fortunate to have parents that were able to rise above that and still really create, I think, a lot of firsts in terms of their entrepreneurial spirit.
Excellent.
But I think
and what sort of businesses were they in?
They were in, the usual. I mean, I always compare my father to the Maponyas, like really being able to be in Soweto and just really build, I guess, a business that really responded to the needs of the township market at the time.
Okay.
And my father, I think, was, I've called him a maverick and a pioneer in that regard.
Sure.
Because he really was probably one of the first Black entrepreneurs that created, township stores in the townships.
Oh, wow.
Sort of that move in the 60s from spaza shops to actually brick and mortar stores that served, Black people. And so that was quite defining, especially back then.
Yeah. And you were growing up learning from that sort of businesses.
Yes. And quite interestingly, albeit 6 children, I was possibly the only one who shared this passion and interest of waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning with my parents, going to the supermarket or the shop and helping sell whatever it was we were selling. And already just being quite interested in this life
in their business.
And in business.
Excellent.
So I do think I'm always a believer, at least for me, that entrepreneurial spirit is almost innate within certain people.
Okay.
I think it can be learned, but I think there's some of us that, either have this ability to create things and fearlessly do so.
Sure.
And I think I got that from my parents.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you early years, growing up in Zim, and then matric.
And then, I studied in Zim. If we sort of look at the personal side of my life, I'm a twin. I had a twin sister. Yeah, I know. And it always starts with a smile. But I think the tragedy is that she passed away when we were 20. And it was a huge defining moment in my life because you grow up with somebody who's almost a very close part of who you are. You turn 20 and, 20 and 21 is almost the start of life as we know it. And, suddenly what you knew is sort of torn away from you. So it was quite a defining, a very defining time, quite a painful one. But looking at it with hindsight, I think, trauma has this ability to either break you or sort of redefine you, I think, in certain ways.
Yeah.
And what it allowed for was definitely a very different view on the world than I had in my early years.
I can imagine.
But I think also just this belief that when you survive trauma, you believe there's a lot that you can do in life. And that's probably the big lesson that I took out of it.
Yeah. And then the early 20s?
And then early 20s, I actually then moved to South Africa.
Okay.
And interestingly, first job in my very early 20s was working at Old Mutual. You were talking about insurance company.
Okay.
And at the time, 20s are an interesting time because you either know for sure what you want to do with the rest of your life, but I think like most people in their 20s, you're very uncertain about what it is you want to do. And I had studied accounting.
Sure.
I never finished my degree, so I'm definitely one of those university dropouts.
Okay.
Never finished my degree.
And this is because it was not what you wanted?
I think by the time, I'd moved into my 20s, my father had also passed away.
Sure.
And I think the possibly typical tragedy that comes with being an entrepreneur is that his legacy died soon after, he passed away. We didn't necessarily maintain the shops and all of that.
Sure.
And, my mom, who had started off as a nurse, went back to nursing.
Yeah.
She interestingly studied in KZN at Zulu Hospital.
Okay.
And so, I guess that was quite, interesting in terms of, I guess what happens when entrepreneurs, reach the end of their life cycle and sort of life change.
And there was no one to pick up the businesses?
I think that's a story for another day. But, I think just the pace at which the businesses grew, I guess the tragedy is that they ended up being liquidated. Sure. And, my mother was 40 with 6 children to raise by the time my father passed away.
Sure.
So it would have been a tough battle for her to actually continue to try and resuscitate the businesses at the time. And we were all quite young. So there really hadn't been any succession planning. And that's possibly one learning as well at the time, to have continued that legacy in a way that perhaps my father might have wanted.
Absolutely. So you don't finish your accounting, you drop out to?
Well, that's it. I mean, definitely financial constraints were a part of it. I had to work very early in my life to support and help my mother at the time. My twin sister had fallen pregnant at the age of 18 and left a 2-year-old amazing child who I obviously adopted. I had a son.
Excellent.
As a result of that. And so there was really obviously a big need to be financially secure, or at least try to begin to become financially secure and obviously support his life. So as I said, I think, that tragedy came with a lot of change, a lot of trauma. But just a redefining of my role in the world and what I wanted to do, albeit that took a very long time to actually figure out as with life.
And how did we end up in this marketing creative space?
So that's also been quite a journey. I was quite uncertain about what I wanted to do from a career perspective. So I've had quite a checkered life in terms of that. But, what I knew for sure, I've always had a creative spirit. Prior to actually moving into the creative world, outside of the accounting piece that I've mentioned, I was also a musician.
Wow.
I look back on it all and I think, when did I find the time to do all of this? But it's the beauty of age.
Did you sing or did you play instrument?
No, I played piano and I still
stunning.
Had aspirations of becoming a jazz pianist.
Oh, wow.
And was quite privileged to have played with quite a renowned South African trumpeter, a gentleman named Brajoni Mekwa.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, he was in Davidton at the time.
Yeah.
And he really just, I think, I spent quite a lot of time with him and at his school. And he trained me in terms of jazz piano. The highlight of that part of my life was playing at the Market Theatre.
Sure.
Completely frightened, doing it anyway, which is one of my life lessons.
Doing whatever you need to do, afraid.
Yeah, doing it afraid.
Oh, stunning.
Stunning. And so it was this sort of juxtaposition of saying, do I pursue this career of creativity, or do I, get a real job and, focus on what to do? And I think the advertising industry really provided an opportunity to be able to do both.
I see.
But making that translating that into business.
Sure.
And so I found my home in
And what was your first entry into advertising?
Interestingly, I worked for an organization called the Communications Firm.
Yeah.
It was a company that was owned by Given and Curry at the time.
Okay.
And really sunk my teeth into the industry.
Sure.
Working for that organization.
Sure.
And was able to rise up the ranks quite quickly. And ended up being MD of that organization.
Yeah.
Prior to starting my own business.
Good. And then what happened that called you out to say maybe it's time to start your own?
It's an interesting one, because I think when you work for somebody or work in collaboration or have partners within a business, one of the things that are really, really important is that you partner and align yourself with people where you have a shared vision, shared values. And I think values is quite a broad term, and they might not necessarily be congruent. But I do think that alignment is really, really important. And I think after a few years, there was a realization that we weren't aligned in terms of that.
Sure. And oftentimes we overlook these soft alignments that you talk about.
Yes.
We look at the potential size of the pie and we said let's go for it, and then forget the alignment piece.
Right. No, very definitely. And that was a really, really big lesson.
Sure.
So I think I walked away from that situation wiser.
Okay.
And also just being clear about what I would be willing to compromise on in my life. And I think clarity also around the kind of organization that I wanted to build. As you rightly said, some of the softer things are the big things.
They are in the end.
And they're quite defining in terms of what you want to build, the kind of legacy you want to leave as well. So that became important.
You're MD and now you are a startup. The transition.
Huge. By this time, I am a divorced, single mother of 2 children. I'm also looking after my mother, and I think, as we all know, we have extended family as well that also need our support, and easier enough to do as MD of an organization. But as a startup, it's a very, very different thing. And what was interesting at the time was that when I left very abruptly, unfortunately, my leaving that organization was not a great exit at all. And so the abruptness of my exit also led me to think, do I want to actually pursue another career? Interestingly, at the time, I had gotten an offer from Standard Bank.
Okay.
And it was a very tempting offer, but this yearning of starting my own business was very front and center. And I opted to take the leap. I thought I'd been doing it at this other organization, so why don't I try and do it now?
And you start off self-funded.
I started off self-funded. I mean, I've never actually received funding. Tell me how it's done. I might consider it. But no, really started this business based on the reputation I had over the years. And I think just this will to succeed and just belief that it would be possible. Once again, as part of my checkered life, this was now the 3rd business I was starting.
Right. Which other businesses did I miss?
We're jumping around. So the first one, interestingly, it was the second communications business I tried to start. The first one failed. In between all of that.
So when is the first one?
The first one I had started and it was more an event company. I had started the first business I started was based on my musical aspirations.
I see.
And I had a recording studio.
Okay.
And I had tried to, build that out and do that. So that didn't work.
And how old are you around this time?
Around this time, I am in my 30s.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in my 30s. And
Right.
I've got all this, this mentor, Johnny Mekwa, interestingly at the time, and I know we're jumping around, but at the time I ended up with this opportunity from nowhere to actually record with another South African great, Nana Coyote from Stimela, who I think at the time had been rejected by many recording studios because I think we all know he was, an alcoholic and really struggled with really just sort of holding down anything. But he was willing to come and record in my studio.
Stunning.
Made absolutely no money. But grew just in terms of the music and just the love of what I was doing.
Excellent.
And so that failed. I think what it did teach me is that passion is just never enough. You move into environments that are quite structured in terms of who wins and who fails. Distribution channels, networks, and just the magnitude of things that I really knew nothing about at the time. But it was a lovely time, and I think I learned a lot just from that process. The second.
So just say a bit more about this passion not being enough. So what does one need to do to study the sort of the business dynamics over and above the passion?
Yes, very definitely. I mean, I think there's the passion. And I do believe even when we are passionate about things, we do need to rank that against everything else that is out there.
Say more.
In the context of you can never be passionate in isolation. Right. Your passion is in the midst of other people doing exactly the same thing.
I see.
Passions oftentimes are not unique in their nature, right?
That's good.
We all might want to be singers. We all might want to be the next influencer. But if we...
I see you pointing at me.
But if we're not doing it in a way that firstly is unique, secondly we can monetize it and sustain it, I think we'll fall short of delivering on that, on that passion. And I think oftentimes when we start to follow that passion, we do so and we're very naive and we believe that it's the only thing required. But to your earlier point, I think passion, for it to flourish, does require an understanding of the environment in which you're trying to grow it. So I think passion also will demand a view of how you're going to monetize it. So what does it look like on a balance sheet, on an income statement? It will also demand an audience. Right? It will demand people to want to engage with it and want to buy it in whatever form it takes. And so really the understanding of the entire ecosystem, all the role players within it, becomes critically important. And how you're doing it differently, how you can charge a premium for it. And so in the early days, those were things I really didn't.
You just said passion.
I just pressed the passion button and thought everything else would come to life.
No, that's a very, very good point. Okay, so we've got the first recording studio business, and then the second one?
The second one actually almost came out of that, because as part of trying to have a recording studio and do all of these things, eventing becomes quite a big part of how you do that. And I thought, let me then sort of try and build that out. And also, once again, it failed. It lasted a little bit longer, but it failed. And I think by this time I had definitely created some understanding of the environment in which eventing at least needed to operate. But also I don't think I was truly ready to grow it in a way that would build something quite sustainable.
And when these businesses fail, and you come to say, okay, we close shop now, how do you process that whole event?
Over time, failure and I have become really good friends. We have. I think failure has become my closest associate. It comes unannounced. Failure's been good to me, I have to say, in ways that I never thought at that moment in time. But you know, I've become quite accustomed to it. Obviously, in the early days, not so much so. But I don't think in the businesses that failed, I had built enough tenure and capital in those things.
Okay.
Or invested enough of my time to walk away saddened. I think I'm somebody who learns lessons quite quickly.
Oh, good.
And moves on from that and moves on to the next thing.
Good.
But you know, you do try, and at the time, I didn't have the luxury of wallowing in failure.
Sure.
There was always something that happened that needed to happen next, and what I did coming out of it was, you know, then have quite a long tenure within a more sort of corporate environment before I started my next business.
Sure.
And so by the time I did start Riverbed, very much better equipped.
Excellent.
To actually run a business.
So Riverbed, you start this business to do what and how different from everyone else?
So I started it in 2007. It's hard to believe this is now a 19-year-old business.
It might be same age as some of our friends here. No, okay, maybe not today.
But, you know, picture 2007, I think it was a very
just before.
It's a very different world and a very different South Africa to the one we're living in now. I think a lot of I know for sure that a lot of the policies that are in place now that are there to support women, that are there to support Black South Africans, BE, were very much in their infancy. And as a result of that, I think anyone starting a business in 2007, unless really well connected, wasn't necessarily sort of bearing the fruits of any of that.
Sure.
And so in 2007, I think starting an agency already as a Black female was quite an audacious move to have made. And it came, at least for me, with very little support, as I mentioned, no funding at all.
Yeah.
But it really was definitely started against the back of the reputation I built over time.
Excellent.
And being able to call on businesses that I'd worked at
before.
and leveraging my I think my hard work, my tenacity, my values, to be able to solicit business from individuals who were working for corporates who had faith in my ability.
Sure. And 19 years now, what has transpired?
A lot has transpired. Firstly, started off very much as a PR organization. Which is where we sort of laid our roots. And did some really, really great work. I mean, some of the things we're most proud of in that regard was working for AXA Airports Company in 2010 during the World Cup.
Oh, stunning,
so we were very instrumental in all the communications.
Excellent.
From an airport perspective, the logistics around arrivals of international travelers and the growth of the airports en masse during that time, all that communication happened from a Riverbed perspective, and so that was a big highlight for us.
Lovely.
In terms of the work that we did, and over the years, we then built on through the line sort of advertising capability. Possibly one of the earlier independent agencies to have ever done an acquisition. We acquired an organization called Chili Bush Communications, which was another independent agency, and they were more focused on advertising. And so that acquisition allowed us to really build our advertising capability and really obviously grew the organization quite quickly. And so
what does through the line mean?
I think it might soon become an obsolete term, but what it suggests is that you're an organization that can work across different categories. So just different disciplines.
Okay, so you can do PR, you can do TV, you can do digital, radio, etc.
So you're doing all of those things. Yeah.
And the term might go away because?
It's not a term I personally like to use. I think now, more and more with the disruption of, I think most industries as we know it, people don't consume media in silos. They don't look at a TV ad and it ends there. You consume on your phone, and you're quite, you actually consume in an omni-channel environment. And so our focus now is more on whatever the idea is as opposed to the channel. And I think Through the Line talks more to the channels that you operate in, which I think is becoming just, that expression of what we do is evolving.
Sure. Okay, so done the acquisition, being part of the 2010, maybe one or two other highlights?
So it's being a female owned agency, especially 2007 onwards, has not necessarily been the easiest of things.
Sure.
The advertising industry, by and large, has definitely been owned very much by men, white men primarily.
Sure.
And I think more and more, as there has been transformation, definitely black men.
Yeah.
And I do think transformation by its nature does tend to serve black men first before black women in many ways.
Sure.
And as a result of that, I do think building a female-owned agency has come with those difficulties. Difficulties in terms of networks, difficulty in terms of access, difficulty also in terms of resources. Being able to acquire the best of breed creatives, the best of breed experts within the environment in which we work. It becomes a lot more difficult.
Sure.
And so that in itself has been a bit of a struggle. But I think despite all of that, we've been able to pioneer quite a few firsts, which is really what I've been proud of. As Riverbed, we were the first agency, black female or female, to rank at what we call the Loeries. So the Loeries are quite a prestigious industry awards title, and if you rank, you're ranking with really the most esteemed organizations, and so we managed to get a top 10 ranking.
Oh wow!
And that was a major first for any female organization.
Excellent.
In terms of what we're able to achieve. In that regard, we've also been highly awarded as an organization. I think what we obviously are most proud of is also just what we've managed to build in terms of what we call our belief in this power of care. So we've built out...
Say more.
We've built out... I call it our radius of care. But what it is we've actually built out a strategic framework that is built on our belief in care. And care, as soft as it might sound, is, at least it's my belief, that you've got to care enough about things to move mountains. It's a colloquial term. You have to care to move mountains. And so it really is our belief that we need, as an organization, to be able to care about the work we do, care about our customers, etc., to be able to really deliver on the kind of work that we aspire to deliver on.
And is that the framework?
So the framework looks at... We've come up with a term called care points. Right? And what we do from a strategic perspective is look at 3 care points. And the care points firstly start with the brand. So what is your brand care point? What does the brand believe in? What is its role in the world in terms of its purpose? And what does it seek to do? Because normally your purpose really is expressed from a brand perspective. And then we look at the business. What's the business's care point? What does the business care about? And hopefully there's a piece in your business that looks at value creation. And not just the products and services that you provide. So we do a lot of workshops and research around really unpacking a business care point beyond your bottom line and profitability, etc. But really trying to mine what the care point pillars are from a business perspective.
Beautiful.
And then the last care point really is around the consumer. Really understanding your consumer, what do they care about within a particular context. And then obviously, how do we then look at campaigns that deliver on that care point. And it's our belief that if we unearth that, we can really come up with insights that matter. And in so doing, come up with great ideas that not only end up winning awards, but truly deliver on our customers' bottom line and the KPIs that they've given us.
Sure. So if someone was to contract you now and you were to do this, you go through this framework, more or less, when do we see the bottom line shifting? How long does it take to do this work?
Look, I mean, the strategic work, we're always, unfortunately, at the service of deadlines. and so
clients and deadlines.
We're at the mercy of our clients and their timelines, etc. And so, normally the strategy work might take 2 to 3 months, depending on how immersive we are able to get in terms of really unpacking those things and who we have access to in the business to be able to really mine and truly understand the business. And then from that, really coming up with, then the creative aspect of it could be another sort of a month or two to really land that in a way that will deliver on the results.
And you don't find people sort of wanting to say, skip the strategy stuff. Can you just give me a campaign?
All the time.
And how do you respond?
There's the utopic side of what we do, and there's the reality of our business. And so there's obviously ways to still stay true to the framework.
I see.
Without and shorten those timelines, which often is what we're called upon to do.
Sure.
But I think over and above that, we're now also able to work with clients where that matters to them as well.
Okay, good.
Because
good.
To some clients, they maybe less interested in that, and they might want to focus more on digital and performance marketing. And we're more and more saying no to that kind of business.
Sure.
But I think clients that truly understand the advantage that they get as a result of this process are the clients, and brands that we really want to work with. And when you're able to work with customers like that, then you're really able to deliver.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So in the 19 years, you spoke about the difficulties. I'm curious, the leadership principles that you have embodied that have carried you over these years.
I think the first one is humility.
Okay, good.
And I say that with a bit of a squirm because... I don't know, sometimes it doesn't always serve us.
Sure.
But I do think humility has been an important part, at least, of my leadership style. Just at least for me, this belief that no matter what you're trying to build and no matter how successful you become, you really need to view everyone around you as an equal.
Excellent.
And that, everyone has a role to play in any part of your growth.
Lovely.
And so that for me has probably been my biggest
excellent
leadership principle. I'm a big believer that, titles have this way of getting in the way of people and understanding people. You're a CEO and suddenly I don't know, leadership is thrown at you because you have a title. But when you end up having conversations with people that have the title, there's a big disconnect between them purporting to be leaders and who they really are. And so for me, leadership has really been around that humility, but it's also been based on authenticity.
Lovely.
Really being able to show up as you truly are. And in so doing, hope that people follow you because of that.
Excellent.
So that's been an important one for me.
And as we were talking earlier, not just because of the paycheck.
It's something that I have carried with me, but the realization of it has come on reflection more than in the moment.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty of hindsight, because you're able to understand the power that it brings. You can be authentic without understanding the power that comes with authenticity.
Sure.
And so it's also an interesting thing as leaders or as entrepreneurs, this reality that you so bogged down in the work that you don't realize that there's people following you. You almost have to stop and look back and realize that these people want me to say something, because it's an interesting dynamic, and I think it happens to most of us. We're not always leaders.
Yes,
we don't believe. But suddenly one day somebody is looking up at you and saying, Mona, lead me. And maybe not in so many words, but by their actions.
Sure.
They're waiting for you to guide them, etc. And I think once you've once that realization hits, it's incumbent upon you then to really honor the role I think walk in a way that does service to what people expect of you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow, time is moving fast. So I'm curious if we return back to the world of advertising, communication in the context of AI. I attended a AI and marketing workshop, 2-day workshop, and it was as if I can just kind of go through the care points and the campaign and everything within the next hour using all these tools. Will the agencies still exist?
They probably will exist in a slightly different form, and that's possibly still, hopefully, a few years down the line.
Yeah.
I think, especially in our South African context, the changes that are coming with AI will take a bit of time.
Okay.
It is my belief, though, that AI is going to be even more disruptive than we think it will be.
Sure.
So, and I think hence the reason for the care point philosophy, because when we strip AI to its, sort of barest point, the only thing that truly stays is people and connection, right?
Sure.
That's the one thing that AI, at least for now, can't do. It can recreate everything that we've been doing over the last century. But it's not necessarily, I mean, obviously, its intelligence is constantly evolving. But a lot of what it does is coming from things that have been, done before. It's accessing knowledge and information that's been created by humans. But, I think at our core as humans, what AI is going to start to unearth is that we will always need connection.
Sure, that's good.
And
that's good.
That is where our care point philosophy actually then starts to become relevant. Because I think if we, as any industry, sort of continues to just chase AI and the technology and its evolution, I think we'll lose sight of that. And ultimately, advertising has always been about how do we connect with people, and how do we use that connection to deliver on people wanting to buy products and services. And hopefully for us, that sits slightly above the technology. And so, yes, we see technology as an enabler. We also have tried to differentiate ourselves by really wanting to deliver on work that also has impact. You can't create a care philosophy if there's no impact at the end of it, right? So I think more and more we're trying to move marketers into a space where the work that they do also has an impact on the ground and the communities in which it serves, right? So it's not just a TV ad that you're spending 10 million rand on, but how do we put a percentage of that into communities and really demonstrate your purpose in action? And so that's what we do. But look, AI is definitely here. I think, just its growth and its evolution is definitely going to disrupt, especially a lot of your entry-level jobs, and this is also on the marketer's side, in terms of the corporates that we work with. I think brands as well are really under pressure to remain relevant in the wake of AI, and we see that more and more if we look at the car industry. The reality that a BYD that we'd never heard of, brands that nobody knows of, that we're willing to buy their cars. And these big brands like Audi and BMW that were once revered are struggling. And so, even just brands as we know them are going to struggle. Because influence really is where leverage lies, and I think what's going to lead as the world moves on. And so it's definitely going to be a new space, but it's our belief that if our focus really is on human connection and how we do that in a way that allows brands to create what we call an earned advantage.
To create a?
Earned
advantage.
Yes.
Right.
So
what is that?
It's based on this premise that we're living in a social first world, right?
Social first world.
Right. We're living in a social first world. And a social first world, for anyone to exist in it, we have to earn attention of people that we want to communicate with. That attention is not... You can't pay for it. I can spend 5 billion rand on trying to pay for stuff. I might bombard somebody with images of Super Lead all over the place, but I'm not going to earn attention because they might just, pass it by. So, for us, it really is about trying to earning an advantage for business, a brand, by creating ideas that matter to the people whose attention we're trying to earn.
Right.
And that, for me, I think is where advertising is moving.
Okay.
Not channel specific, but really, really trying to immerse ourselves into truly understanding people and how we are going to communicate with them in a way that's authentic.
Sure.
So that's the space, hopefully, we believe that we can continue to occupy for a while.
Excellent.
And, get brands to be able to connect in a way that matters to consumers beyond their products and services.
Sure. So these are just two questions coming to mind now. One is, you've done a lot of work with corporates, and if there was a small, medium company that's looking to create this end advantage without the necessary budgets that the big corporates have, what might they do?
Look, research is at the cornerstone of everything. And obviously, I think every small or medium business is different. But you do want to, for me anyway, I think it's firstly, it has to start with understanding what you do beyond I sell water. Right? Yeah. It has to go beyond that because everyone sells water. You definitely do need to find what your unique proposition is to the market.
Right.
Secondly, you have to find a small group of people who want your water and not Woolies water.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And you need to be able to understand them, understand what matters to them, and why your water is different and why they should buy your water.
Yeah.
Right? And it could be your water, it could be your strategic services, your consulting, whatever that is. Yeah. But you do need to be niche if you're a small to medium-sized business. You need to find what that niche is.
Sure.
And obviously try and create that advantage. I think what's great now is obviously that digital, social first world is not an expensive medium to be able to create communication strategies and campaigns with. Yeah. And so it then does become around what platforms do you want to use and what are you trying to say to really garner, that what we call share of voice in the market. So I think the starting point is always just figuring out what am I selling, why. If you read a lot of these new I don't know if they're philosophers, but, all these new startups, especially in the US, a lot of them start by obsessing over their product.
They do.
And if you haven't obsessed enough over your product and what it is you are trying to sell, nothing else matters.
Sure.
You can network, you can do all of these things, but if you really don't have a compelling product to take to market, you'll get caught up and lost, I think, in terms of trying to deliver something unique.
Cool. So we spoke corporate, small businesses. I'm curious, I don't know if you play in the space, but if one wanted to elevate oneself as a brand, what could be 1 or 2 or 3 pointers?
Yeah. Look, it's more and more becoming easier to do that.
Okay.
I've become quite a fan of a guy called Naval Ravikant. I'm not sure if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
But he talks a lot around like what the new leverage is. Yeah. And leverage really is about influence.
Sure.
Right? And whereas influence back in the day was built around capital, influence now is this tangible thing that all of us have access to.
Sure.
And we all have access to it because all of us have access to social platforms. Yeah. We literally have access to the entire world.
Sure.
All of us,
sure.
Right? And so how do we gain that influence? It really is about, once again, discovering something unique to yourself.
Okay.
That is of interest to other people.
Sure.
And finding a way to consistently do that one thing that more and more people are going to be interested in.
Okay.
And the more people are interested in it, you can monetize it, and you can, build and grow your brand in that regard.
Sure.
So there's obviously a lot of platforms where you're able to do this, but I think a corporate space like a LinkedIn is obviously one that works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Building or creating podcasts is not as easy as people think. But if you have something compelling to say, I think, one can do that.
Yeah.
What I would caution against is not being clear about what it is you want to talk about.
Oh, wow.
We live in a world where we all have access to the same information.
Sure.
And there's very few people that are saying unique things.
Sure.
Very few.
Sure.
And so it does become really important for you to find something that is different.
Wow.
We also live in a world, knowledge has been democratized.
Yeah.
Everyone has access to it. Yeah. But it's your point of view on that knowledge
sure.
that creates your difference, right? I also say that now more than ever, depth of knowledge,
sure.
I think, is a magic differentiator.
Wow.
Because nobody has it anymore. You flick on X, you suddenly become an expert on the conflict in the Middle East, and you have absolutely no context, no depth of understanding.
Sure.
And so I think what access has given us is really a lack of understanding.
Sure. Sure.
And I believe, at least, it's those people that take the time to truly understand the subject and understand context in its depth that will be able to communicate it in a way that people understand, and hopefully create a point of difference in that way.
Wow.
So that would be my
stunning.
2-second piece of advice.
Oh, stunning. I see we're at the top of the hour. Yeah, sure. We ask all our guests these two questions. One is for you to give our listeners, our viewers, one challenge that they might want to start from today or next week or maybe in the new year. And the second one is to recommend a book or a website or any resource that we could take from you.
Okay. The first one, I would say, and it's a simple challenge, perhaps it's this reality that we need to match our intention with our actions.
Oh, wow. Right. Okay. I think we can restart this podcast.
And if I give you a challenge today, find one intention.
Sure.
Just one.
Wow.
And match that with consistent action.
Right.
And if you do that consistently over time, I truly believe amazing things can happen.
Oh,
can happen.
Stunning.
As simple as it sounds.
Oh, it sounds like the beginning of a next podcast on its own. Just bridging this gap between intent and action over a sort of long period of time. Right. Oh, stunning. And come January, we're gonna have a lot of intentions by way of New Year's.
To mention it now, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, lovely. Yeah. And a book to recommend or a website?
Look, I really do like Naval, only because he's quite a progressive thinker.
Excellent.
He's very social first.
Sure.
I think he understands the dynamic in which we all are living in now.
Yeah.
And so I'd recommend, you might not find a book, but his quotes and his interviews are really quite profound in terms of just how he thinks. And I think how he's really able to show people the simplicity of trying to succeed and just some of the tenets and the important things that you need to do quite consistently to deliver on that.
Excellent.
So he'd also be one of my recommendations.
Lovely. Monalisa, this has been incredibly awesome and insightful. You dropped quite a lot of not even nuggets, I don't know what to call it, but like solid bombs, that might require another episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
They're all going into a book soon.
Oh, lovely. When? Because we need to launch it right here.
Well, I'd love to do that. It's still in the works. But,
okay.
You'll be the first to know.
Yes, please. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Monalisa. Thank you. Sorry we went over time.
No problem at all.
Excellent. Thank you.